what has worked for the big posts is to agitate a common issue or ignore a nuance.
Welcome back to Unfuck My Startup. I'm very excited about today's episode. By the end of today, you will be able to make a LinkedIn post that gets 375,000 likes. Mark my word, I'll refund you the cost of admission if you don't know how to do that. Our guest is dissecting Mr. Virality on LinkedIn. This guy has gotten more likes than anyone, and he's the founder and CEO of Fame, a business that helps companies create amazing podcasts. But you might know him as the selfie king of LinkedIn. He's racking up insane engagement, numbers like 300,000 likes plus and 175 million views. But the question we want to ask, are these just vanity metrics? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Tom Hunt. Happy to have you here, my man, all the way from London, UK.
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I have the 6 things I think anyone can implement to get to 1,000 likes, like this week. And then I've got the 7th thing, which I think can take people from 1,000 to 10, 100,000. So we're going to go through that. And yes, I'm going to share like the business impact. Like, did the 300K like post actually drive any business?
Don't go anywhere, because I'm dying to know this stuff, by the way, as a guy who puts a substantial amount of time and energy into posting on LinkedIn.
So Tom, and I'm not just saying this, I think everybody will probably say the same thing. I've seen you get more traction on LinkedIn than literally anybody. Last week, we had our own LinkedIn consultant on the show, Alec Paul, and he wanted us to ask you specifically, how the heck are you doing this? Like, what are these vanity metrics? Like, how are you able to get hundreds of thousands of comments, or thousands of comments, hundreds of thousands of likes? You had mentioned you have a 6-step formula to help people work up into this. If there's one thing this group loves, it's actionable lists with steps that they can actually complete and get to a better end state. So let's jump into it. You want to just share it step by step? I'll let you run this how you will.
Let's do it. So we'll go through the 6, and then if we're getting good engagement in the chat, I'll release the 7th.
The man knows how to run a webinar.
That's good. A reminder that the 6 will get you to 1K, 7th could get you to 10 or 100K. But let's go through the 6th then. So I think we have to think about the algorithm. So points 1 and 2, how we initially can tell the algorithm to start giving our post more attention. So the first is, if we think about somebody who we want to engage with our post, the biggest real estate when the post appears on their feed is the image. So what I've found is if we have a single image where a human face is, 5 to 10% of the image, these always perform the best. There's probably something deep in our psychology that when we see another face, it stops us more than if we see a person in the background. And so I simply get my partner, who fortunately used to be a photographer, to take pictures of me, ideally wearing sunglasses with an espresso, ideally in Italy, well, like when she's on the other side of the table from me. And that's like the backlog of the pic. So it really isn't hard. You just need a partner. You need to be in it now. You don't need to be in Italy. So I want everyone to test single image with the face. Like, just go to the profile and look at the 2 big posts on the front of my profile. You'll see that the face is, 5 to 10% of the image. It just works better. So that's number 1.
And is the coffee thing too, like doing something just like belligerently human, something that we all do, right?
I think that the coffee thing, 2 reasons. Do you remember the company Ad Espresso? They, like, relatively simple product, was very successful, sold for a shitload. I think a big part of their success was the branding. And I actually think the espresso part of the branding helps. There's like an outsized amount of coffee on landing pages and in ads, because I feel like people that are addicted to caffeine, when they just see an image of coffee, like, get this dopamine rush. Like, I get it. I love coffee. If I walk past Starbucks, I feel it. So it wasn't purposeful like that, but that's my backwards rationalization for why the coffee works. I like to add it in anyway, because it's like part of my brand, or like something that I like.
Desiree says that's why people eat and brush their teeth in movies. It makes them relatable. I like that. That's
nice.
Spot on.
So by the way, you're a good looking guy. Like, what if I'm not?
I am not sure if that is having an impact. What would I say? We just have to test it.
Are you going to explain later how you split testers? Because LinkedIn's strange. You can't just like run 2 posts in parallel. You have to like post one, and then what do? You post everything the same 2 months later and change the photo or something like that? Or like, how do you run a split test on LinkedIn?
Yeah, even if you're doing that, like 2 months down the line, same post, different image, the algorithm might have changed. I've never split test anything, but what I have done probably for like 3 years now is post almost daily and really spend time looking at the metrics. So it's not split testing, it's just learning from the data. Point number 2.
That was pretty good, man. That was more detailed than I thought we were going to get. Like the sunglasses with an espresso in front of us. It's like, that's a lot.
I know this is part of your LinkedIn formula as well, but the hook. So again, we're just trying to get someone to stop. The image comes down, it's someone's face. There's 1 or 2 lines of text. We're just trying to get someone to stop the scroll. So that first line is commonly known as a hook, is quite important. So what I found is that I know you guys like to add numbers, that hasn't worked as well for me. What's worked well for me is a statement on 1 line that is curiously driving. So I'll just give a couple from the big posts. My absolute favorite of all time is, first I handed in my notice, then they offered me a raise. And we'll talk more about story and the topic later. And then another one I liked recently is, I canceled a weekly one-on-one with a direct report. So very basic statements, but they're curiosity driving. Why was the one-on-one canceled? Why did I hand in my notice?
Yeah.
So again, those are both HR related, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But that's the second thing is, how do we get someone to read that 1 line of text that's very simple and then get people to click or see more?
This is just, I mean, it's almost like hook steroids. Like you were like hook vitamins, these photos, because it's like confession time. And then it's just, the gesture, everything like mimics this hard thinking about like, oh man, I have a confession to make. And I feel like that hits so much harder than like, and look at the amount of real estate that this one takes up versus this is taking up almost my whole screen, or vertically at least.
Single image. Well, we have a question here from Isha. How do you think of the hooks? Is GPT or brainstorming? I have the post concept first, and then the hook comes after. I haven't used any AI to write any of these posts. 3 and 4 are going to be quite simple to run through. The first, and maybe arguably one of the most important factors, I think, in kind of like big numbers, is the topic. There are just certain topics that more people on the platform have in common and therefore have the potential to engage with. So these topics are pretty much anything within HR and workplace, because LinkedIn is a work platform. There's obviously like LinkedIn itself. If you post about posting on LinkedIn, everyone has LinkedIn in common. The topics that we might talk about pillars later, but I have 2 other pillars. One is business, bootstrapping, and the other one is marketing. You'll see if you go through my posts that the marketing or the business/bootstrapping posts get maybe 10% of the engagement that the HR workplace ones do. So if I sold a B2B HR SaaS software, like things would be very different. Like I'd probably be a AR numbers like you guys, but I don't. I sell to marketing people. So we'll talk more about that, the business stuff later, but there's a misalignment there between what I get a lot of attention for and what I make money from.
So are you conflicted about that?
I think if I love fame, I'm going to be doing fame for a long time. But if I was ever to do anything else, it would probably be in the HR space, just to leverage not just to leverage the attention. I'm also interested in it. That's why I think I've written a lot of posts about it. That said, one other benefit, and we're getting into the business stuff now, is that we're a service company. And so it's very important for us to get the right talent in at the right price. And our core role in our business is the account manager. We went from roughly 50 applications a month for that role to 500 when this started popping off. And so our cost to acquire or to bring in an account manager decreased. We're getting better quality for the same or lower cost. So that is an advantage from posting about the HR workplace stuff that is, I think, more specific to a service company.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
All right. So topic has an impact. Number 4 is story. Humans are wired to, or something about being around the campfire and information being processed more easily if it's within the form of a story. And so again, if you look at the big name posts, the majority of them are these relatively short stories, again, in the HR workplace world, because that is what pops off. So I have found that those posts often perform better because they're probably digested. More people digest them because the format is more digestible. Point number 5, a very basic one, is I use Hemingway. So it's hemingwayapp.com to essentially proofread the post to make sure I'm not writing it too complex. Basically, it gives you a readability score. We want grade 1. If I'm a grade 2, maybe I'll keep that, but I won't post anything with grade 3. Again, if we're thinking about the algorithm, the longer we have somebody, or we get someone to stop scrolling, click see more, linger on the post, these are all signals that tell the algorithm to show the post to more people. If we put in a word that someone doesn't understand, they're not going to get past that. They're going to move on. The more simple the writing, the better. So grade 1 on Hemingway is 0.5.
We've had a few kind of LinkedIn heavy hitters on this. The topics 2, 3, and 4 are kind of overlap with things we've heard, which is great. Because I mean, look, there's not, You can't argue that an amazing hook, topics that resonate, and a great story aren't going to drastically help, right? Like those are such big pillars. But this idea, like it's talked about less, is writing super, super simply. And I think this not only blends in, I think this not only kind of works on LinkedIn, but like go to your website, read your website copy. How simply are you able to break down these ideas for people? So a few people said the Hemingway app was just a great idea. I just wanted to like emphasize that, because if you do everything great, but it's too complex, it's just not going to take off. People aren't going to digest it.
And another thing, just on that note, I like to tell people when you're writing copy for the internet, the goal is to make it scannable, and you get the full essence of it by scanning. Like the ultimate lazy man who's only half-assing it, he can just sort of scan down the page and get the gist of what you're saying. And like what that immediately eliminates, which is a huge problem I see with a lot of people who start writing on LinkedIn, are these big paragraphs. I think big paragraphs is like kryptonite for LinkedIn engagement, because people just like, they hit see more, they see a bunch of stuff, it looks intimidating, gone. Like literally gone. Anyway, that's my interjection.
And like also the way both you, Adam, and you, Tom, write, and I see this a lot with people who just create great content, even off of LinkedIn. Mr. Beast is amazing at this, is like having the TLDR at the very beginning, right? Like when the very beginning of your post, you know exactly what the rest of the post is going to be about. And it gives you that intrigue to keep going, as opposed to giving that at the very end when like most people aren't going to make it there if they don't know what the heck the post is about. They're not going to like go on this deep discovery mission. It's just, there's too much content out there.
Yeah, it needs to be provocative enough to get a see more click, so the cliffhanger needs to be good, but it needs to be relevant. They need to know that it's relevant to them, right? So that's the balance.
Some people said TLDR stands for too long, didn't read. I think it started out on Reddit when people would have a long post. You scroll to the bottom, you get a whole paragraph in 2 sentences. And David says, literal or metaphorical? I mean, kind of literal. Like tell them what the heck it's going to be about before they start reading the whole thing. So folks, while we're going to go over point 6 right now, and then we're going to have our midway section of the show. When I say folks, I mean audience. I don't mean Tom and Adam. So audience, grab a LinkedIn post of yours recently that you feel did not take off and you cannot figure out why. You're trying everything. Drop it into the chat here. And in a few minutes, we're going to roll through a few and have Tom and Adam in the panel break them down. We did it last week. It was great. Next week, we'll get back to regular Unfuck My Startup, but Unfuck My LinkedIn lives for another week. I already see them coming in. Tom, step 6, my friend.
We got a couple of questions on the images. So Steve saying, interesting, the images are not related to the information at all. And then a question from Jason, does the image have to be of yourself? In an ideal world, every image would be of yourself and it would be relevant to the post. However, I have a business and a life, and therefore I'm trying to also post 7 days a week. Having a picture that's going to be relevant to every post is probably not going to work. Jason, it should be of you, yes. Ideally, what we're trying to do here is get people's attention so they learn more and think more about you, so that when they want to buy the thing that you sell, they'll come to you. So having a picture of someone else, you're basically going to miss a big chunk of the benefit. Let's go to point 6. If you think about what we're doing with all those points, is we're trying to have people behave in a way that informs the algorithm that it should show your post to more people. And so the final thing, and actually point 6 and 7, point towards much stronger algorithm signals. So point 6 is, how do we end the post in a way that's going to inspire action that, again, will tell the algorithm that this post people are getting value from. And so the classic ending that I used to do a lot, but stopped using now, is simply ending the post with agree, ? This, again, quite cringe, but it worked. If you go to the big post, you'll see that that was the outro, because it just seems to get people to increase the comment rate, basically, which is then telling the algorithm. So it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be a question, but it just has to be something that ideally gets someone to take an action, whether that's like or comment. So that's 6. I think we're going to wait until after the break, guys, but do you think we've got enough engagement in the chat to release number 7?
There's a lot of engagement in the chat. So
I think they're going to be waiting for an 8 and a 9 too, Tom.
So by the way, Tom, I try to like end my stuff rather than saying something that elicits comments. I try to just like end it in a really coy way, which is like gives a dopamine hit or whatever. Do you also do that, or are you literally just trying to maximize comments on every post?
Yeah, I used to end every post with agree. More recently, like that seems like quite a cheap way now of getting engagement. And so I don't think it has to be a CTA. I think if we can, again, the coy ending that elicits some emotion, I think will also increase chances of a comment. So it doesn't have to be the CTA. And what you're doing is perfectly fine. And yeah, the agree I rarely use anymore.
What are some of your other faves? besides agree.
So I'm going to scroll through. There is like you're seeing this a lot now where people are actually asking for the comment and the like in order to get the thing.
Yeah. That's the ultimate. That is the ultimate shenanigans right now.
But I'm seeing it work. I'm just scrolling down these big posts. Yeah. So here's a good example of like a coy kind of inspirational way. So the post is around an employee handing in their notice, and the message of the post is that you want to roll out the red carpet and be nice to people that leave. And so the final 2 lines are like, don't treat a resignation like a rejection, bit of alliteration there, roll out the red carpet. Again, like, so there was 4 R's. That's a nice one. So again, that's an example of a coy ending.
That's pro player stuff right there. 4 R's and 6 words. I mean, like until you break it down, people don't even know why they like it. And we just love alliteration. And I love even just while we're on the topic, like tapering down the length of the text, like down to this thing that like very gently like massages people's eyes into the end. And then it's like a banger like that. Like that, as crazy as it sounds, like that makes it get more engagement also. And it makes it get more whatever, like time on page view, whatever. Like
the whole experience of the post. It's like post aesthetics are also important. You're totally right, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy thing to say that like that is something that we do, but we do, you know?
And after you say it, like as Tom's going through all these points, it's like, oh, of course. But like it's so, you can't pick it out of a hat. It's just so, or out of your brain. It's just so hard to do. And then you go back after knowing, you're like, oh, of course, this is the formula. This is how we all act. Let's jump into some posts, folks, shall we?
Yes.
I'm going to share my screen. I pulled up a number of them and we're just going to rifle through. So we have Doran here. He's got the picture. I mean, I already like the picture personally, but let's go through the text here.
Yeah. Okay. What do we have here then? Cool. All right. So we've got 2 images, I believe.
Yeah. I would take that.
Okay. Yeah. I would take that down to 1. Can we just scroll up a little bit? Decent engagement. Yeah. Okay. So I would see how in the first line we're like, it's try to keep it as simple as possible. Here we actually think 2 things. I wasted months, and then here's what works. So just simply putting a full stop or a dot after the right way and bringing here's what actually works down the line, I think is going to improve engagement on that right away. If it's a stylistic thing that you do, all caps, then fine. I personally wouldn't do it, but that's against my style. But if that's part of how you write, then that's fine. And then after here's what actually works, I'll probably get rid of where most FTRs get it wrong, like cut that out and just try and, I like what we're doing basically, but the first 3 parts are like, it's just a bit confusing. Like, I just want to get into the thing.
Yeah, but it's almost like here's what actually works is saying the same things.
Exactly.
Where most SDRs get it wrong, So like it's one or the other.
If we clean up the intro, I quite like the content itself. We're not going into all the detail. And then I'm probably just getting rid of the photo description and putting that in the first comment. Again, like, I think we're nearly there. It's just cleaning the intro, getting rid of the photo description, putting that in the comment. We're actually doing pretty well here, I think. And it'd be amazing to see just doing those 2 or 3 things. Yeah. So Doran, could you please do those 2, 3 things? Even DM me on LinkedIn and I'll rewrite the intro and outro for you. And then we'll repost it with 1 image. And then I reckon we'll get double the engagement.
Perfect. First of all, very nice. Someone asked AI too. Maybe, I don't know if this is going to be a fun game or not, but if we guessed if it was AI or not and then had the person reveal it at the end of the breakdown, that could be fun. So Doran, did you use AI at all for this? Was it proof written by AI? Let us know and we'll hop over to the next one here. This one is a company post. So company posts, a little different, usually don't perform as well. We'll look down to the performance quickly. 6 reactions.
I can just jump in right here. Like, this just screams ad to me. And I immediately am like, I don't care if I'm in market for this. I'm annoyed that I'm looking at an ad. That's just my personal view. And I think it's probably the view of a lot of people on LinkedIn. It's like, I want to be moved emotionally by story. I want to connect with human beings on this platform. I do not want to be shown ads. I view ads as a regrettable necessity to keeping the thing going. And I don't know if there's more to say about this than every single thing about it reeks of an ad. Company page, yeah. So how I would do this different is I just would post something from a personal page that is along the lines of what we're talking about rather than this. And like, this may have some use as like retargeting, maybe.
But the ones that performed the best, at least from what we've seen, are the ones that took off organically. And that's how we would cherry pick what we put dollars behind. And those were always the non-ads. I mean, ads, anything that's somewhat of an advertisement or promotion, a feature announcement, an upgrade, whatever. That's why I wanted to call this one up, just because I thought LinkedIn's littered with it and it's worth going through. We'll go to the next one. By the way, Doran's post, not written by AI. Fantastic job. All right. So we got Gabriel here. Let's look at the image. So we got low engagement. The image, Tom, this does not fit your image standards, does it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit we can improve here. I would put, like, the line I actually like is in the first paragraph, it says, standing out as an endless battle. Again, I might move that to the hook. Like, if it's not an amazing hook, but it's a single life statement, that I don't know if that's the best, but it is probably, that might get a bit more attention than what we currently have. Someone recently told me. We're going to get rid of the hashtags. They just don't work. And then if we are going to ask a question, we only ask one, we don't ask three. Like, trying to get anyone to do anything, or anyone to do multiple things reduces the chance that they can do anything. And then photo wise, I don't know. I'm not sure if the picture of Gabriel is like relevant enough for this post. So maybe I would just, I don't know, not put well, I guess it's a red ocean that does do to the post. Adam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking similar to you. Pete and I my first company was an email newsletter app. We would always tell people only have one CTA per email. Like, your conversion rate will be 5x what it is if you do anything else. So I agree with you there. One question max. The second you said standing out as an endless battle was what you would put the hook, I was like envisioning a Tom Hunt post. And like, I was just picturing you like with the same espresso, biting your lip, looking down, like that one picture that Pete pulled up. And I might have to click see more to know what you're talking about. But that image would make this human and relatable to me, because I'm feeling that right now, right? Like, I am feeling like I have a new competitor every day that's undercutting me and just copying, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Again, like, zooming out what the topic of the post is, we're essentially pitching the business, which is never a post that's going to get a lot of attention anyway. So he's definitely at the bottom of the funnel post. So I wouldn't expect it to get massive engagement regardless.
Yeah. And I say this a lot. I rarely talk about RB2B, my company. And when I do, it is more like a character in this drama that I'm presenting, that I'm either like, I treat it like a child. I'm either like patting it on the back, or I'm slapping it on the wrist, or I'm talking about how it's behaving poorly, or like whatever. It's like I would never say RB2B identifies your anonymous website visitors and sends a LinkedIn profiles to Slack and try to push that out to LinkedIn. They'd be like, fuck off, bro. I don't care about you and your company.
I think on that point too, I remember when we launched, all your posts were like, it was about your growth goals for RB2B,
Right?
How you were going to not run into these pitfalls you had on previous businesses, and then people would find, someone even posted it in the chat, like, the personal posts lead to people to find your company and products. They're going to, if they relate to you, you're going to know everything about them.
Like, by the way, like, this to me is like the game you got to play as much as sort of algorithm arbitrage. Like, you have to not pitch your company even though you want to, as much as you have to do all this other stuff to get engagement. And then you have a view my services link, Gabriel. I might change that to visit my website, because that's kind of like a clear call to action, in my opinion. Like, what do you mean view my services? What am I going to get? It's like, it's kind of ambiguous what's going to happen when I click that link. I think visit my website is like so clear that I just change it to that if it were me. So yeah, that is my thought on that post and topic.
The last thing I want to mention, that Alec Paul, who's our LinkedIn consultant, he was on last week. He says hashtags do nothing on LinkedIn. I don't know if, Tom, you found that too, but especially anything that's just not actually serving a function. And maybe you just didn't know that. It's certainly not intuitive to know that hashtags on the specific platform don't work, but eliminate all of those things. And then just lastly, too, before we get to the next post, Lori asks, how do you use voice notes on the LinkedIn app? Lori, it's on the mobile app only. Pull up a DM, you'll see a microphone there. For some reason, you can't leave voice notes on the web. I have no idea why. Let's get into Lydia's post, though. So this one took off better than some of the other ones. We got 2 images, no faces. I'll let the pros, though, dissect from there.
Yeah, it is promising. Let's diagnose this hook, though. So I optimized for Google, but I got into AI search. That's the first thing. By leaning even harder into what matters most, that's the second thing. So we're trying to communicate 2 things in this hook. Again, we have 1 second to try and communicate what this post might be about. And trying to do two things is going to minimize the chance that we get anyone to look at anything. So I'm tempted to tweak this to, I optimized to Google, but got into AI search, full stop, and then maybe even a double line break so people can't see what's coming next. And then I'd probably just get rid of the, by leaning even harder into what matters most. Probably get rid of the, yes, I followed the SEO best practices, but then I double down on authenticity. So I think we need to clean up the hook. Okay, if we're talking about a photo of my husband working late at night, that's like the ideal. Like I've posted a lot of screenshots on LinkedIn, never ever perform as good as a human. So Lydia, if we're happy to post an image of your husband working late nights, that is going to really make this one pop. So clean up the hook, add image of the husband. Like again, the outro, if it is aligned with how you normally speak and you normally use the orange heart, great. I do think it's important to have a writing style, but if it isn't, I would probably get rid of that as well. And maybe call back out to your husband at the end to bookmark the post.
The only screenshots I've seen work well are like a super simple tweet by a very notable person. It's like a 5-word tweet by like Sam Altman or something.
It's kind of like, that's more shenanigans though. There was a time when that was doing really, really, really well because probably I think people clicked on the tweet to like make it bigger and just look at it and to X out of it, probably, or maybe they just stopped on it. But yeah, agreed on that end. I want to add to all of you out there that want a hack on how to evaluate hooks. I would suggest like looking at your own hook for literally no more than 2 seconds and looking away. And like, were you moved by that? Because that's kind of what's going to happen to you as people are scrolling through the feed. Like you're going to get 1, maybe 2 seconds. And if I think you can do it unemotionally, like literally just look at this and look away. Like, did it pull me in or not? Or was it kind of confusing or was it kind of long? Like, was I just like gripped by that? I think it's an exercise you can do.
I actually stalked a lot of your old posts, Adam, and you did used to do the image of the tweet a way back.
Yeah, well, that
was working.
Tommy Clark was my guy then, and that strategy was one that he was using a lot with his clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just went on the feed and I just want to bring this hook up because I saw it. It's posted 9 hours ago by a guy called Alex Dick. His hook, simple sentence, maybe he's been learning from me. All it is I fired my best recruiter today. And I think it's a picture of the recruiter. I'll put a link in the chat. Like, Alex is excellent.
Yeah, drop it in. I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, please. I haven't even read the post, but it's already popping.
Oh, yeah, this is great. All right, I'm resharing.
Oh, it is like Alex has been studying at the school of Tom Hunt Post, if that exists. So let's have a look. Scroll up. Hook is epic. Now, there is something that I think is quite important, is the double line space or not. If you have a single line space after the hook, the third line will actually show, or at least on desktop. Here, he didn't do that. And I would actually maybe have added that because just he was an amazing thing. I don't know. I think it just complicates it a bit. Stepped over the line. Okay. I feel like maybe he's actually a bit of a joke post. Yeah. Okay. So he's actually a joke post. So maybe he's taking the piss out of my formula. But he's got the agree at the end. And it's going to pop off. He's got a big face. Maybe the face is too big here. So yeah, excellent.
Definitely. I don't know if he's making fun of you, but he is getting engagement based on your formula. That is for sure. You break down your game and then you just showed us an example of someone else who made that post.
I mean, I'm happy for anyone to satire the method and as long as they're getting attention, that's what matters.
Yeah.
It's also these paradoxes are just killer. Like I now, there's a meeting that Adam has on Mondays with Alec, and I sit on that meeting, and I now know when a killer hook, like the whole meeting knows when a good hook was just written based on how big of a paradox and how heavy of a paradox it was. Like I just fired my best anything is insane. He was amazing. I mean, come on. That's unbelievable.
Incredible hook.
Well, let's get back into, so that was I hope everyone liked this Unfuck by LinkedIn. We will have to get other people who are just LinkedIn gurus on here so we can do this a little bit more often. We'll get back to Unfuck My Startups next week. Let's get into it. So, I mean, Tom, do these people deserve 0.7 or should we just end the webinar now? It's totally up to you at this point. I know it's getting late in London, so.
I've seen some strong engagement. That's 2.7. So again, if we think back to all the 6 points, we're just trying to get people to do the thing that show the algorithm they should show your post to more people. I believe that the strongest algorithm signal are big chunky comments from people that don't know you. Again, if you're the algorithm and you're seeing a post get these big chunk of comments from people that have third-degree connections, then you're like, wow, this content must be resonating with the audience. We're going to show this to more people. So then the question is, how do we get big chunky comments from people that don't know you? And what has worked for the big posts is two things that are a little bit risky, but is to agitate a common issue or ignore a nuance. I'll just give some examples. The two of the biggest posts did this very well. And actually, I don't even know if I was planning this beforehand, but the first post was about a team member who was going to work from another country for 6 weeks. And it was like very uplifting, like don't care where they work, et cetera, follows all points 1 to 6. What we found was that a big percentage of comments was from people in like compliance, HR, et cetera, asking me if I considered the tax implications, the compliance implications of somebody working from a different country for 6 weeks. So that's the nuance I ignored there. Another quick example is the post I mentioned earlier about canceling the weekly one-on-one with the direct report. A lot of the comments there were, again, HR people or other leaders saying, it's actually not it's not your job to cancel the direct report. Did you ask them if they wanted to speak to you? And obviously I didn't mention that in the comment. And in reality, I obviously did tell the person that I was canceling the one-on-one because I was happy with their work, et cetera, but that wasn't in the post. That was the nuance that was ignored. So how can we agitate an issue or ignore some nuance that's going to get a lot of people to come in and leave those chunky comments? Those people get to show the world that they know a lot about HR, they know a lot about their work. Maybe it gets a bit of negative press on the post for you, but you're getting all the attention. So that's the deal. And that is what will propel a post from 1K likes to 10, 100 or beyond.
And how do you pick those out? Do you write your post first and then say, like, what can I omit that'll kind of piss some professionals off? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I have written posts where I've taken detail out because I'm hoping it's going to allow people, I'm actually doing these people a favor. They get to come and show the world how intelligent and knowledgeable they are about remote working compliance.
What was the one, like, what was in the 309,000 like post, what was that for that?
That's the compliance one. So can we get the post up on the screen and see if we can find some of the comments? There's like 50 comment threads of compliance people arguing whether this was legal or not. Let's try and find one.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So the comment about other people's comments, I have to say again, because many people are commenting and complaining about the issue of walking abroad with strict tax laws, blah, blah, blah. But the main point is, that comment there is somebody commenting about all the other comments from Sabrina Johnson. But maybe I'll try to find a link to like one of the big threads so we can see the example. But yeah, so again, if you think about that, every time we got a comment that was telling the algorithm, oh, wow, okay, this content people are engaging with, you just have to have slightly thick skin. I've only ever had to delete one post. And this was where I probably did this a little bit too much of an inflammatory way. The hook was, I can't remember the exact hook, but it was something about firing somebody. I think it was like, I fired someone yesterday. And the post was actually uplifting and it was like actually firing people. I shouldn't have used the word fire, but actually ending a working relationship with someone can actually be a very positive thing for both sides. And that was the message of the post. So it was like uplifting. I wasn't being negative about people. But then a lot of people that commenting go like, why are you bragging on LinkedIn about firing someone?
That happened to me a couple of times.
Okay, yeah.
Just
Did you delete the post?
I mean,
did you keep it?
Housed. Yeah, I left the post, but like, yeah, it's like, do a build in public. Like, we did a layoff last year because we woke up one day and we're like, man, it's just changed. Like, we can do the same thing with like a team that's smaller or whatever. So I posted about it. I mean, my executive team is like, don't post about it. I'm like, if I don't post about it and it like gets at, it's like it compromises the whole content stream value of the information. So I had to. And then 75% of them were like, that really sucks for you, for them, everything. And then 25% is this like venom, like, you are the worst person ever. Like, I can't believe you're writing about that, blah, blah, blah. Just like, the problem is like, it was incredible. Just the ferocity.
How did it perform?
Well, yeah, it wasn't my best one ever, but like very well. Another example was of this, by the way, of like something very similar to this was when our first 6 weeks of RB2B, we had this vision for pricing that was just like wrong. We were trying to go free and $4.95. And after we had decided what we kind of wanted to do, I just was like, nobody's converting. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And then it was just this invitation to like come in and just sound smart for like product people. It was So while I don't think we made decisions that were like different than we were going to make before, it actually provided an unbelievable amount of insight. And those posts did incredibly well. So a couple more times I kind of went back, like when there was a problem we had a general idea of how we were going to solve it. I just acted like I was nowhere on it. I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, can somebody please just like look at all these numbers and tell me? And people want to volunteer that information on LinkedIn.
I think what's interesting about LinkedIn, I mean, you can kind of take all these social platforms, like Instagram is to show everyone how beautiful you are. YouTube is to show everyone how talented you are. LinkedIn is to show everyone how capable you are. And like in the world, and we're getting a couple questions, like how do you deal with these negative comments? Because this is something that creates traction, but you know there's like emotional turmoil waiting for you on your phone 3 hours later. How do you run headfirst into that? And like, how do you welcome that? Or is it just knowing that the results are going to follow and that's going to be worth it?
One of the things that we were going to talk about here is like the short-term gain of like doing all this stuff basically versus like the long-term value that I might be missing out on. And so my answer to that question and to this one is that my background before like the entrepreneurship is like hardcore online marketing. And we're like bred to whenever we find arbitrage opportunity to just completely ruin it and like push it to the absolute limit to maximize short-term profits. And so that's why I've like come up with those 7 things and pushed it so hard. And that's also why I can get through some of the hate, is because I'm just hardwired to try and maximize the arbitrage opportunity. So it's not that I don't feel bad when I get a negative comment. It's just that I'm just driven to try and maximize the attention.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say that it doesn't bother me. I don't care what people think, but it does. It sucks. You know, like, and luckily I don't have to spend that much of my time in that space. Like there was the 6th Sense thing that happened and like, it's like horrible. You know, I'm just such a positive person, generally speaking, but that arbitrage was attacking this company in like a somewhat disingenuous way, right? Like I was making the claim that they were afraid of me and I had a 3-week-old startup, right? That's not reality, right? Yeah. So in like so much, and I just get so worked up emotionally. There's this guy, Clark Barron. I don't know if he's on here or not, but like he always goes after me whenever he can about whatever. And the way I feel it's like, it just ruins the hour around when you're engaging with the post, in my opinion. It's like, it just spoils a couple hours or an afternoon or something.
It can be bittersweet because you know that every comment, even if it is negative, is getting your post more attention. Yeah. The 6th Sense posts were legendary, by the way.
So Waleed said, this is the ultimate thing to end on. Haters will always watch, so give them a good show. Tattoo that on my back. That is fantastic.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I got like a 3-hater, like some guy started going after us for what our HubSpot integration did, which we built because people asked for the feature. And then the HubSpot thing like tells you what it's doing. And he's like, this is crazy. We're downloading that. And and then this whole crew jumps in and they're like, why don't you just at least give people the option of opting into it? And it's like, dude, like the integration tells you exactly what it does. And then you hit okay or cancel. Like it's opt-in. I'm not sure what you guys want from me, but it's the pile-on. And then the next day, another guy had this post. And then the next day, Clark's like, oh, it's spyware. They're selling your customer data to other people. They're selling your, it's just like, Jesus Christ.
I get anxiety for you when those pop up. I'm like, man, but hey, you're fighting the good fight. We all appreciate it because that's why we're all here, Adam. So, Tom, where can people find you? LinkedIn. I know you got Fame. I'm going to drop some links into the chat so people can check it out.
Yeah, that's basically it. LinkedIn, feel free to DM me. I'm happy to like review posts. I actually really enjoy reviewing posts if you want to DM. Fame.so is the domain. And also podcast Confessions of a B2B Entrepreneur. That's actually how I first met Adam, who very kindly came on the show a while back. And that's it.
Heck yeah. Tom, you were a fantastic guest. I'll post a breakdown too of all of Tom's 7 steps in my LinkedIn. Tom, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining.
Yeah, Tom, this was awesome. If I had to guess what your steps are, and I read a Finn post about this too, I would have been like kind of close to this, but like you really articulate it well. And like, I think a great show is just like a checklist that people can do that is somewhat surprising, and like you just delivered on it. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate everyone attending and engaging in the chat. It's a great show you guys have here.